In this session, we ask the question, to fudge or not to fudge?
I really like peanut butter fudge.
That is not the fudging question.
Join our adventure party as we delve into the social and cultural aspects of our favorite game, all while enlightening our taste buds with a random craft beer. So crack open your favorite bardic inspiration and roll initiative with us of Dice and Brews.
So here's what I'm thinking. If you had $1 million, now, Ben, I know that you're not really a car guy, and that's fine. But if you had $1 million to buy cars or a car, what would you buy?
Okay. Is there stipulations to this $1 million? It has to be to a car?
You have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah, you probably have to pay taxes. That's probably a good point.
But is it
You have to spend $1 million on a car, or you have to spend the $1 million on cars.
okay?
If it's a single car or multiple cars, I don't care.
I'm going with the 2021 Dodge Caravan, fully loaded.
See,
You would.
how I would do it? Because I love cars. I love cars, but I'm also a function type person. I don't need a ton of cars or a fancy $1 million car. So I'd probably buy like $1 million worth of Corvettes.
Okay.
Because I could probably get them at a really good price, buying them in bulk.
And then selling them all?
And then turning around and selling them all for cash, and
Okay,
then I have $1 million.
let me get us started, okay? My thought was
I would work around
like
it.
like a 70 or a 71 Chevy C10 fully restored
You act
original.
like I know what that is.
Well, you're not going to know what that is, but I think John would know what that is. Or even like a 56 or 57 Chevy Nomad. That'd be pretty cool.
Blue, like light baby blue.
For some
Your
reason,
C10 would have to be brown.
No, the C10, I've already got this figured out. It's the two-tone. You know how they do the, white on top, color
yeah,
on bottom?
yeah.
My thought would be like that white on top and that almost like desaturated, like almost pastel-y yellow. It just, every time I've seen it, I'm like, wow, that's a great looking truck. And it's functional.
Somehow there's a surfboard in there.
No, I wouldn't put a
I think-
surfboard in it.
So why don't you just do like the Volkswagen, old school Volkswagen bus fully restored, and then
that's
chop
one of them.
and then chop like another one in half and make a trailer out of it?
I have seen that and it's pretty cool, but that's not what, no. I would, with $1 million, I'd have the money to do both.
With $1 million, can I just buy a car dealership and then resell the cars, all of them?
I think car dealerships cost a lot more than $1 million. $1 million
Yeah.
really isn't that much money.
No, see,
Can I finance the rest?
Probably.
see, it actually, like, if I was going to really think about this, I don't even think $1 million would get the car I want.
Well, you
It
have a
would be-
family, so it'd have to be bigger than a 2-seater.
Oh no, it'd only be a 2-seater. Doesn't even have a roof. It would have to be a true numbered AC Cobra. I would want to
Okay.
show. That's
Can I
my
get the
all-time
Dukes
favorite.
of
But I
Hazzard?
don't think $1 million would buy me one.
Yeah, I don't think $1 million would buy Dukes of Hazzard's car, the Charger,
I'll take
Challenger,
the
whatever it
Batmobile.
is.
Fuck it. Let me
Like
go
it.
all out. Let me take $1 million towards the Batmobile.
Well, okay,
The 89.
here's what got me thinking about this is I was looking on the internet. There's this website that I go to that has a bunch of really cool guy stuff, right? And
Is there whiskey on this website as well?
yes, there is.
Well, what
Ben's
if-
all about that
and,
conversation.
And flashlights.
Can we talk about that?
And just cool stuff.
Flashlights?
I don't know why, but I think most guys are like, how many lumens does your flashlight have?
Every time I go to the auto parts store, I stop and stare at the flashlight. The little
The end cap?
the end cap of flashlights and pocket knives.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to need one.
Look at that! It
All I need
flips
is
out, and it could strip cable too.
All I need is an Olfa knife and a fucking utility knife. That's it.
Okay, but what got me thinking about this was on this website, they were posting about the fact that the 1979 A-Team van is going up for auction. And maybe it's already sold, but
And the
like,
current bid's like $1 million.
And
I
you
don't
want
know.
it.
I don't know. But like, dude, this thing's got like a mounted turret in the back.
Okay, so hold on. Like, the only thing in my mind that I can picture the A-Team being like would be like the Turtle Band from the series, the 1990 series, where like Leonardo is on the fucking like the swing out wall with the sit down rocket launcher. Like, now if they had the Turtle Band up for auction, I'm down.
No,
Shell-
it's the
turtle
A-Team
shells.
van.
Yeah, but you know what?
You want the turtle van. That's fine. I get
yeah,
that.
bro. And if it comes with a theme song as the horn.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hold on. I think this goes into a different topic that is equally important. Out of the 3 original live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, which one is the best?
haven't
one's the
seen
best
any
movie?
of them.
Yeah.
Well, they never had a turtle man in any of them.
No, I know that, but you got me thinking about the fact that like the live action
Number
ones-
2, Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I think as a kid though, I liked number 3 the most.
Oh, I forgot about the old
Man,
ones.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, those are amazing. I loved them.
Yeah, I don't. The
I don't
second
think
one
they
was the
hold
best
up
one.
anymore.
I haven't
Yeah, they
seen.
do.
Isn't there
They do?
two?
Yeah, go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go ninja, go.
There's two new ones though, right?
No, there's. What do you mean new?
Like within the past 10 years.
I don't think there's a live action one.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
they're-
they're like live action CGI.
I think there's a CGI one, which is really good. The TMNT one.
I haven't seen.
Okay.
I haven't seen.
Yeah, I
it.
haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. But I think we've gone way too far down this rabbit hole.
We went from we literally went from fantasy $1 Million Dream Cars to
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
live action Teenage Mutant Ninja
Well,
Turtles in the same conversation.
And that's how conversations work.
Welcome to a podcast.
Yeah. If you're having a hard time following along, maybe you just need to have another.
Bardic Inspiration.
Exactly.
Ooh.
All right. On that note, I want to bring up something to our audience, if we have one by this time. But we will be delving into the video aspect of our little threesome here, for lack of a better term.
we should call it that.
Or triad.
There you go. That could be some problem too.
But we will
Adventuring
be
party?
Yeah, adventuring of our D&D group. And we will be kind of like a brand new DM series or current DM, but we will be telling you or videotaping how to run your monsters and then how to put paint on them quickly so they're tabletop ready.
Fast,
gonna be
slap some paint on, and tactics on running the monster.
That's right. So we'll be posting a video series once a month called Monsters and Minis. I really like this idea because, for me, as an aspiring miniature painter, I always find that the hardest part of putting paint on minis is deciding like color schemes, how many colors is too much to use, and then realizing that, you know what? People are only going to see these minis from 2 feet away. It's not like they're going to be right up on them the whole time. So a quick, quality, functional paint job is all you need. 2 to 3 colors is all you need. So we're going to show you how to do that and achieve that the best way possible, as simple as possible, to get these miniatures on your table for your players and you to enjoy.
So you don't stress it.
Yeah,
That's right.
As somebody who's learning and just starting into my mini painting color scheme, man. I just did one the other night, and in my head I had
Brown
like, color scheme. No, it was like a cleric-y, and I was like, I never do white, and I'm gonna do like white and blue.
Oh,
When
big
in doubt.
mistake.
Oh
brown.
my god, I got it done, and I'm like, this just looks terrible. I can't stand the color scheme.
Did you just slap some Agrax Earthshade onto it and call it a day?
No, I'm gonna probably strip it down and redo it.
Good call.
It's also, I think it's also not a high quality printed mini, so like half the body has like almost no detail. So I like kind of lose like what is this?
So based upon this series, like we're gonna cover, and it's gonna be the 3 of us, and we're gonna cover priming techniques, how to get the best priming techniques you can at a minimal budget, and then we're gonna teach you how to run these monsters. Like, because in my mind, as a DM, like you go through these encounters, and you're planning these encounters for your people, and you're thinking about, oh, which monsters did I want to use? But you never really dive into the lore or how monsters react to players. You know what I mean? It doesn't. So combat really doesn't end up feeling organic because people don't realize that monsters have feelings too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if their moral is let's say you got a group of goblins and they're going up against 5 players and you got 8 goblins. If they lose 6 of those goblins,
They're out.
They're out. But always as DMs, because it kind of gets lost in the shuffle with everything else that you have to maintain, is that those goblins should have ran away. You know what I mean? So just bringing that to the attention of newer DMs or current DMs that maybe don't put enough thought into that, I think this will be a good series for us.
Oh yeah.
Plus, on top of that, it'll be video, so now you can equate a face from us with a voice, and we can get to know you on another platform using the YouTube moniker.
Yeah. I think the biggest one that comes to mind for me is like there's so often this tendency, like if you down one of your PCs, that your monster is just going to go to somebody else. Well, in the world of D&D, your NPC or your monster is going to know like they're unconscious, but they could still be a threat.
See, Andy, I think that's where the topic of today kind of fits into this whole thing, is fudging or not fudging, just because sometimes as a DM you just have to look the other way. What's the phrase for that? Turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of
Yeah.
ignore the obvious almost.
Yeah.
So based upon that, so we're announcing a new video series once a month. We're not going to try to make this too strenuous on ourselves as it already is. But I mean, if you guys like it and enjoy it, by all means, we'll definitely produce more or expand on the idea. But we had an idea for a short video series, and this is what we're going to do with it. It's kind of our homage to the technical side of D&D, since our podcasts are very laid back and socially interactive as opposed to mainstream technical things. Speaking of new DMs, I do want to bring attention to a DM resource that I think is absolutely phenomenal, and that's Dungeon Influence.
Yeah.
Dungeon Influence on Instagram, you can find him or them. I don't know if it's a him or a them, or even a her. I'm sorry, I apologize. But they are a daily resource for DMs that have any kind of writer's block or anything like that. They release a daily NPC with a whole written out background for you that you can plug and play into your game. They do story hooks. They do random little DM tips. They have a free supplement for zero sessions, the zero session checklist on Drive-Thru-RPG that I think is phenomenal. So if you are an aspiring DM and just getting into this game, check out at Dungeon Influence on Instagram or Dungeon Influence Zero Session Checklist on DriveThruRPG.com and get this checklist. Anybody that runs as a DM should get this checklist because it will give you exactly what we've talked about in previous sessions, where your players' expectations, your expectations, it will give you the rundown of what a zero session should look like. So I just wanted to throw that out there because new DMs and current DMs should use this as running their zero session. Or if you have story block or campaign block or anything like that, check out these guys' tips because some of them are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, one of the other ones that I would like to highlight is D&D Speak on Instagram as well. They have tons of tables for you to roll. Just some of them are like alternate campaign sites, roadside encounters, just all kinds of these like different things. And they're constantly bringing out that stuff. And it's what's great about it is if you got something coming up and you're like, crap, I want this to be different. You just pull it up really quick, roll it, and off you go, and nobody knows the wiser.
Well, and here's the thing is, as a DM, you should know that it's okay to steal from other people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you should know that you can take other things that you've seen from movies, novels, anything, and reskin them or tweak them just a little bit and make it your own.
That's what I do. That's
you have to. I mean, because there's no original ideas left in the freaking world.
I think pretty much every single one of my characters has been a character from a book I've read.
Right. And it's amazing what, based upon context, like dropping your favorite character from a novel or dropping your favorite scene from a movie into a different context will change it completely. Although you are the one that knows where that came from, nobody else will know at all.
Yeah.
Especially if they're already involved and immersed.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is like if they're already in it, they don't have time to think about, hey,
they're thinking about their character.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and a lot of times what I've experienced too is that if they recognize, like, hey, this is a lot like, the Fellowship fleeing across the bridge of Khazad-dûm, this is really cool. They don't go on you because you're doing it. It's more like this is really cool.
Yeah, who didn't want to do that? Like, who didn't picture their adventure party running across that fucking bridge?
Pretty much. If you play D&D and you've watched Lord of the Rings
numerous times,
you want that scenario.
All the
Absolutely.
Time. Not only do you want
that to happen to
not
your
only
party.
Do you want that scenario, you want to run down those fucking steps too.
Oh yeah.
Whoever didn't want to play an encounter on those steps?
Favorite shot at with
I think everybody's just going to be like, who gets to be Gandalf, and
somebody just wants to shout, "You shall not pass."
That might be copyrighted.
Flatulence.
Speaking of flatulence, actually.
Whoa.
I just bought these books.
A fart?
No, these books. This is a really cool book.
Andy, we might have bought the same book that I just showed John.
It's
Fart Quest?
Yes.
Yeah.
They just got delivered today. I haven't had a chance to actually look at them yet.
It's amazing.
But
I read 2 chapters to Emma, and she's like absolutely in love. And Emma's my 3-year-old. So
yeah, they look so cool. I bought them for
and there's Ben's family.
My fiance's nephews. They're Lincoln will be 6, and then Sully's younger, and Archie. They're all young kids, little boys, but bringing up like Fart Quest, they're like, oh heck yeah. And I got to show Lincoln the other day like one of the little minis that I painted, and he was just enthralled. And so I took one of I took a couple misprints that you had, and I took those last time I was here, and I'm gonna sit down and he can paint those and I'll paint the other things.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Did you tell Ben you took them?
Yeah, he does. But that's what I do.
I dug them out of the trash, so I don't really think Ben cares.
That's what I do. And that's another reason why I think he lives in the alley.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I do that with them all the time. Like every time I sit down to paint miniatures, she always finds me and she's like, I want to paint too. So she gets the big old brush.
Yep.
And she gets the big old misprint miniature and she just paints away.
Where are these works of art?
She has a shelf in her room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Of course, like any good artist, she wants to display them and they don't hang on the refrigerator with magnets.
Yeah. No,
So
they don't.
we had to have a shelf.
Man, all right. So slightly off topic, but
It has anything to do with magnets and refrigerators? Not
no,
off
it has
topic.
to do with children's art. So
off topic.
my 5-year-old, she was watching a YouTube video on how to draw something. I didn't know what it was. She was just watching, and she has her colored pencils and a piece of paper, and she's at the kitchen counter for like 30 minutes doing this drawing, and then she comes out and it's folded in 3, but like when you'd fold a dollar bill to make George Washington's face disappear. It was folded like that. And she's like, oh, look at this. It's a pretty cupcake. And then she opens it up and it's got all these teeth and a nasty tongue sticking out. And she's like, and it's a cupcake monster.
Mimic cupcake?
Yeah, she made a mimic cupcake pretty much. And I was just so amazed at my 5-year-old just followed these instructions to a T, folded it correctly, did everything right. I was like, man, I was a little proud dad moment.
Isn't that what we're hoping for with this video series though? Like, hey, look, just follow these instructions and your combats and your monsters will come to life.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's be clear. Is there anything
Better than a cupcake minute?
that feels better than when a young kid or even child or toddler thinks what we do is cool?
Oh, yeah.
It makes you feel pretty great.
But at the same time, I think that's emulated by us to them, because anytime that a toddler or a little kid or anything like that comes up to me with any random piece of like toy or anything like that, or tells me a story, I'm just like enthralled by the amount of imagination and pure freaking innocence that gets spoken, and like they breathe life into these inanimate objects or stuffed animals, and everything has a name and everything has a place, you know what I mean? And it fits in their own little world. And just to tap into that resource and be like, I just wish I could see what's going on in your mind. Like when you're playing your toys and you have this whole little thing going on and you're having conversations with yourself, I'm just like, wow, that would be a D&D podcast worth listening to.
Oh yeah, I mean, my kids are getting a little bit older, but still at 5, the stories and imagination that my daughter comes up with is, like you said, it's enthralling. I get sucked in. I'm like, yeah, tell me, this makes no sense, but I'm still listening.
While he's got his notebook taking notes for his next D&D campaign. What was that magic word again? How do you open the door? Don't worry, I do it too.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we should cheers to the little people in all of our lives.
Agreed.
And what's on tap today, gentlemen? Have a pint, take a break, and relax. It's my favorite part of the show. So tell me, boys, what's on tap?
Well, gentlemen, tonight, what's on tap? I want to share with you, it is called King Size Candy Bar Stout from Backwoods Brewing Company out of Carson, Washington. I actually picked this up over at Total Wine and More. So if you got one of those in your area, maybe go see if they can pick this up for you. It's 7.2% alcohol and it is 20 IBUs, so not too bitter. I'm just going to read this real quick. It's chocolate caramel, nougat, and peanuts. We all know what this is without, quote unquote, legally having to say it, right? Grab yourself one of these king-size oatmeal stouts and experience all of these flavors perfectly balanced in a beer. Question: if you share this with a friend, is it technically fun size? I'm not going to be sharing my can with you guys.
Well, it's a good thing you bought one for everybody.
I did. It comes in a 4-pack of 16 ounce.
He only delivered 3.
I only delivered 3 because
He had to do some research.
I did some research prior to this. It's good. I would say that it's a little.
I'm not going to wait anymore.
Yeah, don't wait. Okay, yeah.
The first sip. Ooh, that is good.
Yeah,
It is. I'm not a huge chocolate stout. I don't like chocolate really.
Yeah,
which is odd, but that's actually pretty good. I think the butter, the peanut butter,
yeah,
definitely helps.
This-
And caramel.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's smooth.
I
would
like on
say
their.
that I had it colder before, and now I'm drinking it, and it's a little bit warmer. So much better warmer.
Really?
Oh my
this
gosh.
This is really smooth. honestly, like I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Like this is really good.
Yeah.
I like their details on the Untapped page where it says no candy bars were harmed.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the making of this.
This is nice. You know what? If you drank 4 of these at 7.2,
Yeah, you're going to feel it the next day,
this might be.
especially
This
being
is a
so
really good-
heavy.
What's it on my Bud Light rating scale? There's 2 Bud Lights.
3, I think.
So we came up with our own rating system, but John already has his pre-programmed.
Yeah. This is one of those ones where
Wow.
it's
This
like-
is I'm speechless, man. Like usually I have a lot to say about beer, but this is I just want
okay.
to drink it.
Yeah.
it's okay.
I like I said, man, I don't like chocolate. So
Okay, well, we'll split his. We'll finish
Yeah, you
off
can get
his.
you can get a truly. Didn't you buy Bud Light
I
Lime
got the Bud
lemonade?
Light once this time.
Oh my goodness!
I think
so.
in order to get John the beer that he wants, I'm going to have to go to the Total Wine with him and be like, don't buy that. You
might
need
be,
to go buy
hold
this.
on, that might be a field trip.
No,
though. We might have to take.
we
a, like,
might need
we
to.
might
That
have
would
to
be
take
awesome.
a field trip.
No,
We'll
when-
do it. Well, next time, or I won't say next time, but one of these times we'll do a traveling podcast beer review
Oh my gosh.
where we take the podcast equipment and we go
Oh, yeah.
to one of these places, probably a sit down place, and get something out of a
When
out
we
of a
can
tap.
sit down again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I totally
2022.
forgot about that
Yeah.
sadness.
No, I'm not that picky. Like I just chocolate. If it says chocolate, I probably wouldn't have gone
John's
for it.
pretty picky.
But
This man is
actually
very
no.
picky.
When I pick a beer, I just like, that looks really cool. I want to try that.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think we all do. But you know what? I will tell you this. Like, not to take away from Backwoods King Size Candy Bar Stout Spotlight, but since we reviewed Sweet As, I've bought that twice.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's amazing.
The sweet as was good.
Especially when you sit down to paint a miniature at night and you just like, hey, look, I'm feeling like a beer, but I don't want to get crazy with
yeah.
it, and I don't want to feel like I'm fucking bloated after I drink it. Yeah, Sweet As.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know
wow.
what's frustrating is I went to go buy some of that
And it's
stuff
gone?
at Total Wine and I couldn't find it.
Oh, but I went to a gas station.
Probably the same gas station.
Chevron?
Country Boys down there.
Oh, this was at a Chevron, actually. So
Okay.
There's multiple gas stations. It's a gas.
That's a good beer, guys.
You hit the gas station.
It's a gas station.
the one and
exclusive.
only.
It's kind of funny that we're talking about another beer during this, but
I don't
mean,
know what else to say about this. It's
Yeah.
fucking fan. This is fun sized in every pint.
It does
For
taste like
sure.
a candy bar.
Yeah.
It does taste like a candy bar. It's actually
It's really good.
If
This
you
is-
like-
this
if
is
you like
amazing.
candy bars,
Yeah.
chocolate
If you
candy
like-
bars, this would be it.
Yeah, if you like Snickers,
this is
if you like
Snickers
Butterfinger,
and a beer.
Hey, it gives you a warning that you can't legally talk about that.
We're revealing it, so we can.
yeah, that's the secret. That's the secret. If you guys didn't get that, so I mean, honestly, like, I'm gonna give this a 4.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.
By majority rules, John, it doesn't fucking matter what you give it.
I'm not even gonna give you a number then.
No, give
You
us a
should
number.
Give us a number.
Give us a number.
I
I,
bet
know
he-
you don't like chocolate.
2.
You like 2?
Yeah, 2?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's not bitter at all.
No.
It's got a very
It's
sweet, smooth
yeah,
flavor.
This is very like easy on
like
the
if
downside.
that chocolate wasn't there, this would be a 4 for me.
See, this is what's frustrating is one of the other beers that I got when I went to the store was, we'll talk about it later, but it's
Literally, because it'll be in a different podcast.
It'll be in a different podcast, but it is a peanut butter chocolate milk stout, and it is amazing.
You drank one of those too, huh?
Not yet,
Then how do you know it's amazing?
because I've had it before.
Oh, see,
And this, the
more
version I
chocolate you
bought-
bring, you're gonna get a bunch of low ratings from me.
The version I bought is a special edition one with Mexican chocolate.
Oh, so I was just about to say,
So-
like, that's kind of like doing a book report on a book you've read 2 summers ago.
I'm fine with it. Guys, I've drank so much different beer that it's kind of
What'd
hard
you
for
do?
me to go to
2 or 3 years of 1,000 beers a year.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like,
Now over those 2 or 3 years that you did that, was there any overlap in beers?
No.
So
You have to
did-
log individual beers for it
So
to be
you've literally
legit.
do you
done-
have those notebooks?
You've done 3,000 different beers.
Oh,
At least.
Yeah, at least. Because before that, I was probably doing
I'm, you know,
500 a year.
I totally understand why your favorite class in D&D is a monk. Yep, I get it.
Or cleric.
Or cleric.
Yeah,
I know.
just something that has to do with, hey, they probably brew down in their caves.
I was thinking Greater Restoration
That works too.
or Healing Spirit, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know.
I need
right?
something for the hangover the next day.
You drink too
All
many
right.
of these and you will.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely dessert in a can. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sweet.
So, I mean, overwhelming majority is 4. So,
My 2 rating comes with a caveat.
yeah,
so
He just doesn't
not
like chocolate
that good
beer.
about chocolate.
But as a chocolate beer, what would you rate this?
Probably a 4.
Oh, there we go.
okay.
Then it's a 4.
I feel like you finagled your way around this.
No, but hey,
John, we're gonna take your 2 as the standard. Like that's what you rated.
That's
this.
my rating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That is my rating.
but
God,
I had to rate an IPA, and I gave
Cool.
it pretty favorable rating.
Yes,
you're
you
also
did.
a favorable guy.
That's true.
I'm not.
This
I'll
is
tell you
not a
straight
very,
up.
Yeah, this is not a very favorable
Straight
guy.
up.
Personality is considered.
Okay.
You
Okay.
can't fucking massage.
You heard
the
it here,
widow's
folks.
peak.
Though, as far as
Hey,
as
man,
far as
the
the
widow's-
chocolate beer goes,
I don't know. Okay, hold on. Is the widow's peak more exaggerated
You
now
look
that
like-
my hairline's going back,
you
or
look
is it less exaggerated?
You look like Prince Vegeta.
I used to have a nice straight hairline, except the widow's peak, obviously. Well, the straight hairline's so gone.
Yeah, but we've talked about this before. You have the wings.
You love my hair.
I love the wings.
Yeah.
You need to be Doctor Strange for Halloween.
When Halloween's a
It's
thing
funny.
again.
You
Yeah,
know what
when it's
though?
a thing again.
You know, I sleep on my side.
The left side's or right side?
No, I'll
Whoa.
bounce back and
Whoa.
forth. But when I wake up in the morning, the sides of my hair are standing straight up, and the top is still like kind of slicked back or slicked forward. And
Wolverine.
yep, every time I wake up, everybody's like, "Oh my god, you look like Wolverine." My beard's all messy. They're like, "That's
I just probably got
Wolverine."
the same look of disgust that Wolverine has on his face all the time.
Oh yeah, it's that face of like, oh,
utter
what's going on?
I saw.
Why
I
is
don't,
the sun still up?
I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but I saw a meme the other
hate
day,
light.
and it's this little girl with this sour look on her face. She's probably like 3 or 4, and the caption is something to the effect of like, how I feel when I wake up knowing that I have to go to work and I just want to be in bed still or something like that. And it got me thinking, like, as soon as I wake up, generally what I'm looking forward to
Breakfast?
is going back to bed.
I don't see. When I wake up, I'm awake. Like I don't lay there. I don't hit the snooze. I don't do any of that. When I wake up. And
I can
guess
attest to that just from the mass amount of parties that I've had with Ben over the years. Going to bed at 5, drunk, crazy football party, and then at 8 o'clock in the morning, the house is spotless. I'm like,
That's a
what in the
testament
world?
to-
And Ben's like, he's like cooking bacon, watching football. I'm like, bro, you've had like 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep. What are you doing? He's like, oh, good to go. Let's go. We're going.
Sunday fun day, bro.
Yeah.
Sunday fun day.
Nope.
Thanks
Can't do
to our buddy Gothar Keg Brew, we're gonna rate this candy bar American style stout.
Yeah.
Give it a 4.
So Gothar, what's the rating for a 4 out of 4? Rudy Tooty Fresh Ale Groovy. And you know what? It's only fitting that we have a candy bar stout because our topic today is pretty fudging.
Gotcha.
But first, a word from our sponsor. Looking to populate your tabletop with outstanding fantasy miniatures? Then look no further. Sneak Attack Prints has a range that will satisfy all your fantasy tabletop needs. From heroes to monstrous foes, these highly detailed miniatures will leave your players in awe when you put them on the table during your next game. So grab yours today and level up your tabletop. www.etsy.com/shop/SNK Attack Prints and tell them of Dice and Brew sent you. All right. So tonight's topic is something I think is for newer DMs or DMs period, but could be player influenced, but that's fudging of dice. And not just fudging of dice, but like fudging of maybe hit points or hits to players or damage done or anything like that.
Or even fudging rules.
So it's fudging period. So it's basically, so what fudging is basically your monsters or your dice have a set when you roll them, or they're already written out, have a set value. And by fudging, you're kind of taking that value and you're skewing it. You're making it different. That's fudging. So the way that this works in my mind is that, let's say, for instance, I'm going to paint a picture real quick.
Paint.
You have 3 level 1 characters. They're going up against an ogre. And forgive me if my stats are off, but the ogre has an AC of 8. He's a hit points machine, so he's a big bag of meat. He has a whole bunch of hit points, not a high AC, so he's just there to take hits continuously. The only thing is that the ogre deals a lot of damage.
Yeah, with that multi-attack.
I don't think they have
I
multi-attack.
don't think they have
they
multi-attack,
don't?
but it's like a 2d6 at level 1. That's
Yeah, with the
pretty
great club.
substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they have multi-attack. Like I said, don't stats.
Yeah,
They're not in front of
Not
us.
right in front of me, so But 2d6 at a level 1 character is a pretty substantial hit.
Oh yeah.
One shot.
Yeah, so let's say that even as not even just a party of new characters, but even as a DM and you're playing level 1, you want to make your encounters not so goblin-esque because everybody encounters goblins or kobolds right off the beginning because that's just a typical thing you do. But let's say that you want to make it this encounter and you're not expecting your dice to roll so high that night because your action economy outweighs everything that you're doing right now for your players, in your players' favor. But you get a couple good hits, and maybe their dice aren't so high. So you take one of these player characters down, and maybe your ogre's down to maybe their last hit or whatever, and you roll a natural 20 on their hit on the character before maybe that character hits your ogre and kills it. The party's already decimated. At that point, as a DM, in my mind, I'm fudging that roll because I don't want to kill the story right as we start.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to out the party as much as I'm trying to instill fear or tell them that this game is deadly or this encounter is deadly or maybe they should have not encountered this ogre or tried a different way than straight engage it. I'm fudging that roll. I'm pulling back a little bit. But that's the kind of DM I am. So I'm definitely in favor of fudging rolls to progress story.
I think a large part in deciding whether you're going to fudge rolls or not also is based on what you're wanting out of the campaign. We've been in campaigns to where they're rap and ethok.
Yeah,
Rap and ethok
meat grinders.
Yeah, where it's all right. This is what it is. This is crazy difficult. It's dangerous. You might not fudge dice in that one because you've set the precedence. You've made it very aware that your actions could or potentially have great consequence. And if the dice play out the way the dice do, that's what it is. But then if you're really going for kind of you want that storytelling aspect, oh yeah, fudge the rolls, because when that frost giant skeleton rolls 2 attacks on a level 1 character, no, you got to make sure that the story progresses at some point. But you still got to instill the fear at the same time.
And I agree with that. And here's the other thing is if you're dealing with new players, the last thing you want to do is one-shot somebody so it kills the taste in their mouth of this game completely.
Yes. You
or as a new DM, the last thing you want is blood on your hands the first 20 minutes you're into a session either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely situational based, but as a DM, I consider fudging dice a tool in your toolbox.
For sure.
You know what I mean? That's definitely a resource that you can use to either further the story, further combat. In my mind, though, as a DM, I really never use fudging against the players. It's always in favor of the players.
Yeah.
Whether fudging be adjusting hit points for monsters or hits on dice, I really never fudge for my for the NPCs or the monsters. It's always in favor of the players, unless one caveat. I mean one exception. Unless it's increasing the hit points in an encounter that I didn't
want to end too soon.
That I didn't want to end too soon, or that they got the jump on me. That doesn't necessarily mean that all encounters are like that, but if it's an encounter that I thought that should soften up the characters for maybe the final encounter and it ended way too soon before maybe even my guy got a hit in or something like that, or just to give the characters a taste.
I do that. That's one of my big things with fudging dice is when I make the encounter, I write down the max hit dice of that creature and I write down the average hit dice, and I keep those numbers in my sight. And as the damage is progressing, I just oh man, you okay over there? You just lost it.
Go down the wrong pipe.
Oh yeah.
Don't choke on that Snickers bar.
King says.
But no, I if the fight is dangerous and you guys are having a hard time with it, all right, I might stick
it back a little bit.
Stick at that average hit point, or even go lower.
See, I don't.
But if it's like you were saying, to where you guys are getting the jump on it, and you're just taking damage, and maybe my attack rolls I roll really low, anyways, and my attack rolls haven't been hitting very much. All right, well, this thing's at max hit points. I keep both those numbers in my head.
I think this goes back to something that we've brought up in almost every episode up to this time.
Why everybody should play D&D?
No. Well, no. expectation, setting the proper expectation and having the conversation, because one of the things that I've noticed is that as a DM, there are times where I have the capacity. I want to have fun too, right? And I have had a long day at work or long day in personal life or whatever, right? And I don't want to have to like mess with stuff. And depending on how you are with that and where your brain goes, you may want to fudge dice because you're like, screw it. I want them to keep going. Or you might just be like, yeah, I'm not even going to use a DM screen today. Here you go. That's what I rolled. You're good. But if you set the expectation at the beginning that that's what's going to go on, I think it kind of sets the tone for a different play style. I think it sets the tone for like, hey, these guys can roll natural 20s too. And you're going to have to deal with that.
I'm not saying that every D20 should be fudged, but my playstyle, and I think that one of your points is definitely like spot on. It's all about the DM and the expectations of the DM and the playstyle of your DM. Because regardless of the players being in control of the story, ultimately it's dictated by the playstyle of the DM. The DM is going to guide you to wherever he wants you to go, ultimately. Because wherever the players choose, the DM can always switch the locations to be exactly where he wanted you to be in the first place.
But
oh yeah,
I want to make sure though that we're not saying that one version is more superior than the other.
Not at all.
No.
I'm just saying that there's multiple ways to do this.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing: is that in my playstyle, so all I'm speaking from is personal experience. In my playstyle, I'm a very story-driven DM. I'm a very event, I would call it, driven DM. In my way of having fun, is not necessarily in combat, but is the overall theme and the overall storytelling atmosphere of the session that takes place that night or that day or whenever you play. But that's the way I drive I get the fun or the pleasure. The feeling as my session went successful is by telling a good story, whether that be in combat or RP or anything like that. And ultimately, in my games, if the dice are gonna roll what they're gonna roll.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if it means telling a good story, between telling a good story and killing the morale of the group, I'm probably gonna fudge those dice. And you can take the pulse of the table in the time that those rolls are happening.
Roll that insight check.
Yeah.
In real life.
But you can take the pulse of the table and see where everybody's at mentally. And you can tell by your players, because the more you play with those players, the more you're going to get to know those personalities at your table more fluently.
Yeah, I think the big point is that as a DM, you are able to do this at any point in time that you want. I don't think, there needs to be a reason that you can actually verify, because the other thing is that if you're constantly fudging rolls to keep players alive, they're going to
rely on that.
Well, they're either going to rely on that or, the stakes aren't high enough and it's like, what's the point? One thing that comes to mind.
It's like playing the game on easy at that point. And
yeah.
That's not fun sometimes.
Well, here's the other thing is that I think that you don't want to do this too often, but if you, let's say that you're coming to a climax of a story arc. And let's say that the meat bag that you set up before the big baddie is supposed to soften up the players so they use a little bit more resources and they do some stuff to make the last fight really tough. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to put that much more strain on the players at the last fight. Because, that's kind of like the coup de grace of the dungeon or the coup de grace of the session, or not the session, or the story arc or whatever in your campaign, or even your last big baddie. You know what I mean? So you always tend to set up that, either trap encounter or big general kind of thing, or lieutenant or second-hand man. You know what I mean?
The pre-boss.
The pre-boss. The boss to the boss. The sub-boss. You know what I mean? Or pre-boss, whatever you want to call it. But
it's got a good flow.
Yeah,
pre-boss.
For sure. But let's see. Let's say that maybe that pre-boss was a little bit too difficult, and you kind of still want that. You want to give them the satisfaction at least having a shot at the last boss.
And fudging dice to your point, fudging dice doesn't even have to be a behind the screens you rolled. You obviously hit, but you say, no, you didn't hit. It doesn't have to even be that. It could be, to your scenario, that pre-boss was a little too difficult. So now when they do finish that pre-boss, they find something that could benefit them. That you didn't even have written in the campaign, but you're just like, okay, I realized that I just pushed them a little too farther than you were wanting to. So you need to make that back up somehow. And you throw in, some potions of healing or whatever, something that wasn't in your mind. And I think that's still considered fudging at that point.
I would agree that that's fudging, but I would also say that, like, maybe it's just because of who I'm used to DMing for, but there are times where you put up every freaking road sign that, like, you do not want to try to mess with this right now. Like
the frost giant skeleton is breaking out of the ice. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. And people do stupid things anyway.
Like run further into the cavern instead of out.
John, I'm feeling personally attacked right now.
Also,
Yeah, but point being, like, there's a time to fudge dice in your favor too. You're the DM. If you've got the DM screen up and it's like, you know what, you guys need to understand that you're not going to be able to walk into everything and destroy everything, and you might have to set an expectation, I guess is what I'm trying to say, of like showing in the game, like, no, you guys just rolled, or you guys have been really cocky, and I want to show you what it's like to actually fight against a juvenile or an adult white dragon, you know, whatever. I'm looking at one, so that's why I brought that up. But it's like, well, maybe that wasn't really something that you rolled or planned, but you need to show the table, like, hey, the stakes are real.
See, but I think that's I don't know if that's a way of fudging as opposed to a way of DM prep, because in my mind, okay, so when I plan encounters, I plan encounters to the player's strengths, and then I plan encounters to players' weaknesses as well.
Okay.
So I guess fudging for me is a way for the DM on the fly to adjust the counter to whether it be too deadly, not deadly enough, or just deadly. So you're always looking for that sweet spot of how do you want this encounter to go? What is your ideal ending for this encounter? What are you looking for out of this? You know what I mean? So if you're looking for this to be a way for, let's say your players just leveled up. They're just level 3. They just got all their archetypes. They're wanting to experience their new skills. They want to fucking cast some spells and shit like that. They're interested. Give them some fodder. Just give them that fucking something they can dominate and just be fucking...
The trial run?
Have fun with. And
here's a trial run for you guys.
But you know
Fuck
what
up
that
some
does?
goblins.
Here's the thing is that builds confidence. Anytime you put up a group of people, just like in real life, training sessions, you know what I mean? Anytime you do something and you accomplish it, you build confidence.
The king size getting to you.
It is. You build confidence in what you're doing, right? That's why we have practice.
Yeah.
That's why we do things numerous amounts of times. So we can build ourselves confidently. So like the next time it presents itself, we can do it confidently. But also, with confidence comes a bit of carelessness.
Oh, yeah.
So every time you're confident in something, you build something called carelessness, where maybe you don't think you need to practice that much. Or maybe you think that you're invincible in that aspect. Or maybe you think that anytime that thing comes along, you can conquer it with your eyes closed.
And you need a reality check.
And
you know, all of this, like, even though some of these things, like the point that you brought up, Andy, and you, Ben, aren't actual dice rolls you're fudging, that's still fudging, you know. That you're fudging the story if that's a better term. I don't know, but I think any good DM or new DM should do these types of things. If something went too smoothly, all right, you know, give them something else. Add something. Maybe more monsters came out of the hallway. I don't know, but or if something's too hard, maybe. And you're seeing that, you know, your level 2 characters are about to get their ass whooped and die. You don't want to TPK. You want to continue this campaign for a while. All right. You know, all of a sudden, this monster has half the amount of hit points it had before.
Or maybe only one of those players die. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you don't TPK.
I think one player death is great.
But you give the reality of, like, listen,
death.
Because of your choices, you can die.
Yeah. Maybe you don't outright kill them like a you know, but you drop them. Maybe, you know, 2 death save rolls or something, you know, before they can get healed.
Well, okay, so this makes me think of 2 situations. And like everybody knows, like, my experiences with DMing for teenagers. And there's a lot of times that teenagers need to be put in their place, right? Because they don't have the decision-making parts of their brain.
I don't know if it's just teenagers.
It's probably not just teenagers, but it's exacerbated in that demographic.
When we play this game,
expected.
When we play this game,
that could be too.
You don't really necessarily think you should feel the need to check adults. It's more expected in teenagers.
No, when we play this game, I think we all kind of revert to that.
We probably do, but okay. So hear me out here for a second. So there's a situation where I remember they got rocked. They were first level characters. There's 4 of them. First level characters. There was 3 goblins. They got rocked by the goblins. I don't quite understand how 3 goblins could take out.
Andy's dice were on fire.
You forgot to fudge your dice rolls.
Well, I was kind of fudging, and then I was kind of like, why am I fudging this? These guys are rolling like crap and making stupid decisions. Like, they need to know that things are a problem. So what I did was all of the goblins dropped them. Okay, fade to black. They wake up in the goblin cave. Well, it was a TPK because as soon as they woke up in the goblin cave, instead of trying to talk to the goblins and figure out what's going on, they freaking broke out of their thing or their ropes and started slaughtering 20 goblins. Okay, I don't even know if a group of 4 or 5 level characters is going to be able to take on 20 goblins at once.
Hold on.
But that's what they did.
You got a TPK under your belt?
I've got like 6.
Oh my gosh. Shit.
No, these particular individuals don't always make good decisions.
He said I got 6.
And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if they're not going to stop playing with me. They can justify why that happened. They can look back and go, we made stupid decisions. Okay, well, guess what? Who knows what's going on in that world? We're going to roll up a new one and we're going to go somewhere else. And they're just going to, that's the nice thing is they're elastic in that where they can just keep going.
All your players should be like that.
That's how
They totally should.
But here's the thing is like, if you're invested in anything to where you care about it all, you're going to take a little bit more time to make good decisions.
Okay, if you're then you need to be invested and you might need something to actually get you invested, right? And there's all these different, as a DM, right? At the end of the day, we are facilitating a story, fun, all of this stuff. We've all have this like unspoken social contract that like, this is what fun is. We need to have a certain level of not knowing what's going on. I think in a past one of these episodes, I was discussing the fact that I had heard somewhere that somebody said that, maybe death is 30% possible, but
needs to feel 70.
The players need to feel that it's 70% possible in order to feel heroic, because that's, okay, let's be honest, like in this day and age, it's really hard to feel heroic. That's why things like video games, why things like superhero movies, that's why things like D&D are such a big part of that. And so if your fudging dice is to make the things heroic, I'll go into a quick story. This happened just this week of, I had 3 people there. I'm DMing for three different people, and one of the particular people wasn't able to be there. So we were going to play anyway. We were going to, as we have talked in the past, Jaeger or pilot or just, kind of like make
cruise control
that character, right? Well, it got to the point where, okay, one character was dead. Another character was down below half hit points, and the character that wasn't there had 5 hit points out of 21 left. Okay, so instead of...
It's a dire
Did you
situation.
fudge those dice?
I didn't fudge those dice, but they didn't want me to. We talked about it prior because I knew this conversation was coming up, and I said,
You set a precedence.
Well, I didn't set a precedence. I said, hey, are you guys cool with me fudging, or you don't want me to fudge? And they're like, we don't want you to fudge. Roll in front of us. And it was like, okay, here we go. So
hold on. Just
I like that. I like that.
I don't know if I like that because as a DM, I reserve the right to
tell your story,
to fudge my dice.
Totally get that. This was just a social contract that we had at the point,
and that's fine.
I like that though as a upfront session 0 topic.
Yeah,
I like that. That's cool.
So, but anyway, so what we did is we called the person, right? We said
the person was not able to get there.
The person that wasn't able to get there. Being teenagers, you can't always get rides or who knows what's
Life
going on.
happens.
Life happens.
You got to do the dishes.
Yep. Parents rule, and we've got to respect
Got
that.
caught.
Right?
Play pretend today, Johnny.
Yeah.
Got caught not doing my homework.
Ooh.
Exactly. So we called this person, and it was like, okay, are you going to be the hero and charge in with 5 hit points, or are you going to run? Because both of those options were very valid.
Absolutely.
You need to make the decision because we're not going to make it for you.
And to that point, like those decisions both happen in real life and in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Like where all your resources is spent and you have to make it a choice right there. Like I've come this far, like in real life, I've come this far. Do I want to keep pursuing this knowing that I'm at the end of my rope?
Yeah.
Or do I want to flee and maybe fight another day?
So there's 3 of us in this room around this table looking at this battle mat, and there's one guy left, and this guy just ganked somebody, just totally took him out. And we didn't call him first. We actually texted him, and I kind of set up the situation, and all that we got back was a text, "Be the hero." And like the 3 of us were like, yes, this is so cool. So he rushes in. He's the hero. I was rolling for him, ended up rolling like max damage on a sneak attack and all this stuff, dropped the bad guy in 1 hit, right? One of their characters died, not like just knocked unconscious, was dead, right? When you crit I had 2 natural 20s in a row, and they didn't want me.
These dice were on fire.
My dice were on fire.
Jeez.
But even seeing that, like the characters, the player characters, like, nope, that's what was supposed to happen. This makes sense. What else was going to happen? This is just the way it is, right? It works for everybody. And the way that we were playing is that criticals were max damage plus an extra roll of whatever dice it was.
Ooh.
What level are you?
They are currently they got level 4 after this session, so they were level 3.
Except that one character.
Except for that one character.
Yeah, I remember when we were playing, hold on, side note, John's campaign with the Mind Flayers. And we did crits like that too. Those were devastating crits.
Yeah. As a new DM and running level 12 characters, oh man, that's tough.
Well, and so this kind of goes to the point of like fudging dice, and
I should have fudged more.
I don't know that. I mean, to be fair, Ben did 105 or 202. 202 points of damage in 1 round.
He let me choose my own magic items.
Yeah.
Oh, I give you a limit on magic items with a rarity limit.
And you told me the campaign needs to be power gamed. Hello.
Yeah. Well,
Ben can power game too.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't think. I really did not think that. All right, level 12 with all these magic items. I pretty much doubled all the monsters and everything. I doubled everything.
And you did max hit points on all the monsters
too. And I was pretty much Sephiroth.
And I did max hit points. It was like, all right, there.
Nova connection.
You guys are up against like an insane amount of crazy big bads. Like every room you were in was a big bad. No, Ben's character just happens. Oh my god, no.
Well, I think at one point in time,
wrecked it.
I was a Way of the Shadow monk, Gith Yankee, or Gith Zerai. I don't remember.
You're a
Githzerai. Anyway, so I teleport in, do 100 and some points of damage because every time we'd walk into a room, it'd be like, "Hey, so
where's the shadows?
Where's the shadows?"
Yeah,
that reminds me right now.
That reminds me of the shadow super.
I would really love to redo that. But I
with the full squad,
6 characters,
and as it's written,
level 9.
For sure.
Yeah,
I would
like to see that ending spin a different way too. But at the same time, relating to what you're saying, I mean, but that's if your expectations based on communication are communicated at the beginning of whenever you run. And I think that needs to be honored. So if you bring that up to your players and you're at the beginning of your session, like, hey, look, are you okay with me fudging dice? If you want to bring that up, you know what I mean? Then you need to honor that social contract. And so do they.
Yeah.
They need to honor that social contract too, which is awesome because, I mean, that created a very epic moment.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But also, I think that fudging is an art form. I think fudging as a DM is an art form just because you're just like this world, just like the world you create, just like the world your players live in. Just like the scenarios you create are ever changing. And your ability to improv on the fly, to tell a better story, to initiate fun, fudging dice is another tool in your toolbox to do that. And it only should be used for that. It should never. It's like Spider-Man's with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what I would equate fudging dice to. You know what I mean? Like with fudging dice comes great responsibility because you have to, in some way, because you're a fudging dice, there has to be a reason for it. It can't just be because you had a bad day at work or you have angst towards that player.
Don't fudge your dice to lead to a TPK. No, don't.
Of course not.
That's not.
Don't fudge your dice to make the players have a bad night.
It should never be used for evil.
Pure fun. Pure fun.
Correct.
Pure engagement. Pure immersion. Pure
storytelling, whatever,
or storytelling aspects. As all fudging in my mind should be used for.
No, for sure. And I think fudging dice is a fantastic storytelling tool. Like as we've talked about.
But it's very situational. And that's the point. Is like you don't have to always do it and you don't have to always not do it.
You should never always do it. You should never every encounter that you have, like I said, you come up with as a DM your own encounter structure or even like skill aspects. Let's say you're really like even in role playing aspects. Like let's just not equate this to combat. Let's equate this to skill checks and RP encounters. Like when you have a DC, because all DMs set their DC, your difficulty check or your dice check or whatever you want to call DC, the amount that the players have to roll on the dice to achieve a certain amount of information or a success on any skill that they choose. When you set that DC and you really, like maybe your story hinges on this bit of information and you set this up to where only 1 or 2 players can actually achieve this information based upon their skills or whatever.
And they don't.
But you really want to give them this. You know what I mean? Either 1 or 2 things happens at this point. You either give it to them based on the highest score and you forget your dice check.
Yep.
Or you find another way to deliver that information. And 90% of the time, out of 100% of the time, because as a DM, you've taken so much time to prep, or
you're probably just going to give.
You're probably just going to give that to him anyway,
and it makes it makes fine sense.
Unless it doesn't make sense of the dice. Like, let's say your DC check was 17 and they rolled a 9. It probably doesn't make sense. You got to find another way to deliver the information.
Well, but I would say even then, then ask them. Okay, so you just rolled a 9. Why? What did you do to accomplish this? And if they come up with a really cool way to accomplish this,
then give them advantage.
All of a sudden, it's either you give them advantage, or that DC of 17 because you have complete power to do so is now 8.
Or in addition to that, another way to handle
one above whatever they rolled last time.
Yeah. Or in addition to that, you give them something to make them think that something is there, and they need to.
Seed.
You plant a seed, because that's what this game is about. Just like in real life, like
you gave them a tidbit, and now they're like, "Ooh, I got to hunt down more information."
One of my favorite things to do is to say, "Yeah, you don't know what's going on, but something's not right. Something smells bad."
And here's the thing,
and all of a sudden they're gonna swarm over that, trying to figure out what's going on.
Just like in real life, though, man. Like we talked about in a previous episode, where just because you didn't succeed at something doesn't necessarily mean you did bad. Getting a little bit of information doesn't necessarily mean that you can't acquire more. It also should motivate you to pursue, if that's your desire, to pursue whatever it is you're looking for further.
You know. What you just said right there really reminds me of something. It's not a parable, a phrase that I've really held throughout my life, and that's failure is my greatest teacher. Failure is absolutely my greatest teacher. I don't ever in real life, in real situations, in my work, in my relationship, in my parentage, I don't look as failure as a bad thing.
Or an end-all be-all.
Yeah, no. It's I failed in that one moment.
And that's not to say that failure doesn't hurt.
No. Failure can very much hurt. Very much hurt. But in that one moment I failed at something, I got to look at that moment. What did I miss?
Yeah.
What did I miss there? And in D&D, if players fail, and as a DM maybe you give them that little tidbit to, like, all right, you didn't quite succeed the DC, but I'm going to give you a sliver of something. As a player, something I would like to do, it would be like, okay, I didn't get everything I needed out of that. What can I do better? How can I get that information? What can I pursue? What can I track down to get the information I need now, especially that I know where I failed at.
And
that's why everybody should play D&D.
I think this lens on both accounts. Like I think that failure not only is your greatest teacher, but it also gives you a drive. And when you succeed, like let's take it back for a second. When you succeed automatically at something, you don't look at that experience as a learning experience.
No.
You don't ever
get that entitled feeling almost.
Yeah, you're like, I can do that every time.
Yeah.
When you fail, then you start to analyze.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or when you don't get enough, that's when you start to analyze.
Man, I think we're almost leading. Does fudging dice, can it potentially lead to personal humility?
I honestly, on one of these papers, that's what I wrote down. Fudging dice is personal humility.
You really wrote that down?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I because I think that just like any teaching tool or any instance that you encounter, you know what I mean? You should find humility in every instance.
Yeah.
Because it only makes you a better person.
Yeah.
Having personal humility and being able to separate yourself from the situation and deduce what went wrong or what went right in your own minds, say, hey, these things I can improve on. Because as people, we can always improve on everything. Whether you got it right or not, you should be able to look back and improve on everything.
Yeah, using the word humility, you've got me thinking about quite a few things. And I think this is an aspect of humility, but I think we need to identify what humility really is. Humility isn't to say, if you knock it out of the park, isn't to be like, oh yeah, whatever, because that's not what humility is.
And it's also not the opposite of just being absolutely humiliated.
No, but humility if you knock it out of the park, let's say, should look something like, you know what? I don't know why, but I was made to be able to handle this situation, and I worked really hard to overcome this situation. And thank you for noticing that, because I did. I worked hard to do this. That's humility, is like recognizing somebody recognizing your greatness, right?
Yeah.
And being able to say like, hey, I don't know why I'm capable of doing this, but I am. And at the same time, like, I've honed that skill. And you see that in character creation in D&D.
And that's exactly why I wrote that down, is because you can tell when players are trying to accomplish a goal.
Yeah.
And when they're not. When they're just rolling dice checks, and when they're actually trying to progress a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another aspect in RP, is when you should fudge dice and not. Because when a group is actively seeking a solution to a problem, you know what I mean? And let's say that they're doing everything right. Just like in our previous episodes where like you had the right suit, you went to the right interview, you did everything right, but that dice just wasn't on your side at that day.
Yeah.
That's why you fudge and you give them a little bit.
Oh man, did we just go full circle and humility brings reason to fudge dice now? Oh.
Did you just become the t-shirt man?
Maybe.
Wow.
Well, okay, so but I think this is where we need to kind of move forward, and you had kind of told me a little bit about the points you wrote down, but I think this is a great segue into where we say, okay, we have a lot that we could talk about this situation, right? And you guys maybe could listen to us for hours talking about this, but the point...
Probably not.
So 2 main points that we should bring up before we end this conversation.
And I bet you this is the one that...
Go for it.
It's okay for the DM to do it. Is it okay for the player character to do it? Is it okay for the player character to fudge dice when it's like everything's on the line and they can tell like this is a story issue and I just rolled a natural 1? Do I just ride with it?
And here's the thing, though, is based upon everything we've said so far, do you earn that humility by the player fudging dice?
No.
Have you earned it?
I don't know. That's why I think it's a gray area.
I think a player fudging dice
is cheating.
Yeah, hands down. And
okay, yeah.
a player fudging dice, they roll that natural 1. That means they're scared of the outcome of what can happen. And I understand that anybody, if you're invested in your character, you could be scared of that outcome.
I don't know if it's just scared of the outcome, is scared of failure. Period.
Or scared of failure, but you're fearful and you're not willing to see what happens next. And if you just accept that natural 1, and maybe, that natural 1 leads you to you drop down 1,000-foot cliff.
You turn into a goldfish.
Leave the the dice fudging up to the DM, because if you drop down that 1,000-foot cliff, let the DM come up with a way.
What happens?
Happens? Maybe you die, and if you die, accept it.
Well,
but I think probably good 8, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not gonna die. You're gonna. It might lead to another quest for the party. It might lead. Who knows? It might lead to a new power. I don't know, but
it might
let your character find that out.
But here's the thing: it's like it's gonna lead to the humility.
Yeah.
It's gonna lead.
It'll lead to it. Yeah,
it's gonna lead to the humility. So whether your character dies or not, it's all about what you do with it the next time. Because like D&D, like we've said many times, like this is a place where you can fail and not have any consequences.
Yeah, but it's just a game.
It's just a game.
I would also say,
in real life, hold on, but in real life, we should treat failures with humility.
Yeah,
100%.
All of them,
and learn from them.
Successes,
and accept them. Accept a failure.
Yes, and realize that a failure is not the end of the world.
It's not somebody else's fault.
It's not somebody else's fault. That's 100% right. Because you should accept responsibilities for your own failures all the time. And it's not it's a teaching tool. Failure is a teaching tool.
Let the world around you fudge the dice.
And if the fact that it hurts, the fact that failure hurts means that you care.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the fact that maybe your failure disappoints other people means the fact that they care.
Correct. Where my brain's going with this is that, okay, so there is the humility aspect of that, but also understand that, like, as a DM, your job is not to coddle your players either. And you need to set up opportunities for them to learn and grow. And there is that balance. And that's why I feel like when we started talking about this topic, we brought this topic up as a topic that we were going to talk about, I was like, crap, I could go both ways on this. Where it's like, okay, I can see a situation where it makes sense. And I can see a situation where it's like, no, man, that's the way the dice roll.
Oh, for sure. I think balance is super important, and balance in all aspects of life, games, whatever, is very important. And that as a DM, you have to be that balance.
You do have to be that balance, but I also think from a player character standpoint that if your DM is fudging dice, and you know that it's happening, it kind of sets this up of like, well, it's all rigged anyway. I can do whatever I want. I think with this topic, we can really get kind of like lost in the woods because there's so much minutia to each individual thing.
Somebody just hit a home run.
Yeah, apparently what I just said was really great.
Pitchers haven't even reported yet.
Yeah. But okay, so we've got a ton of different little nuance, right? Of when it's okay to do it, when it's not okay to do it. And I think the three of us definitely agree that, like, it's okay for a DM to fudge. It's not okay for a player character to fudge. But where that sounds like a double standard, I think that's a little bit a misunderstanding of the roles of each person at the table.
Yes. Real quick. I think it's very much outlined in the names of the positions in the roles. You have players, and then you have the dungeon master. The dungeon master is the world. It is the world. It is the story. It is everything besides the players. And the players can only control their own actions, where the dungeon master controls literally every single aspect of every single thing around the players. So putting all of that onto one person, you have to fudge. But as the players, where you're only controlling your one character and what you can physically control, fudging is cheating at that point.
I would totally agree. I think that's why when it comes to, okay, but I also think that it's a play style situation that has to do with why you, how do I explain it? There's a playstyle situation with the DM as well, right? And so, like, for me, when I homebrew, my thought is like, this is what's happening in the world. I'm giving the player characters an opportunity to affect whatever's going on. If they make stupid decisions, I'm probably not going to fudge the dice. If they come up with really cool ideas to circumnavigate real world problems or problems in the campaign, then maybe
like befriend a hag. Yeah,
like befriend a hag, or
I thought that was amazing.
Well, or try to shave somebody. I don't know.
I think that'd put that under stupid.
See,
but that's the point. Is like there's two different versions there. Like,
no, I understand, and I think stupid. That's kind of maybe a harsh term, whatever. But stupid decisions as players. A lot of the times, I think you could fudge it and kind of like maybe try to, as a DM, teach your players like, hey, don't make those decisions. Don't play that way. I'm trying to lead you more down a certain situation. So like a good 60-70% of the dumb decisions players make, you could probably still fudge. But when they make the really really stupid ones, all right, okay, yeah, you might need that lesson to be taught.
But what you're saying makes me think of two particular video games in my mind. Okay, Elder Scrolls Morrowind,
the best.
Great game. Whatever.
I'll punch you in the face.
Yeah, you want to fight?
That's the best out of all of them in my opinion. Just probably because it's nostalgic.
But also, The Witcher 3. Okay,
shitty game.
I will fight you. Okay, here's the thing about those two games, right?
I didn't say shitty on the second game.
Is it wasn't those games didn't scale with you like a lot of video games do. You actually had the ability to wander in places you had no business being in.
Oh yeah, no. If you knew how, you could jump right up to the Mountain of Doom or whatever it was called in Morrowind. If you knew the path, you can go right there.
I see, and I think that because those games didn't scale with you, that doesn't necessarily mean that. That's why I like D&D so much, is because it does scale with you. You know what I mean?
But life doesn't.
No, it does.
I don't know.
Life scales with you all the time, dude.
I mean,
the situations that are presented to you on a daily basis, they're the same level, or if not higher than you all the fucking time.
But that's because you know where to go and where not to.
Yeah.
Do we? Or are we always learning and is it a constant experience? Like, seriously, man. You're not doing the same math problems that you are in kindergarten anymore. This isn't Kansas anymore, Toto.
I think life
to be
scales.
fair, I haven't used any geometry, and I'm in construction.
Okay, I was just saying.
I went from a tire salesman to a maintenance engineer. I jumped way above my level.
Yeah, but you and I, the three of us, could easily wander into places we have no business being in.
Absolutely, but at the same time, it's all about our skills and how we adapt to those.
Yeah, but that's the point of with player characters. They can easily wander into places they're not ready for.
And based upon their reactions and their choices and how they present themselves is whether or not I allow them to still be there as a DM. This is what I'm saying is like,
okay,
just like that instance that you brought up in a couple episodes back where like, hey, would you give them the ledge if they jumped and they outskipped their coverage? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It depends on how they present themselves. If they give me a legitimate reason why they're trying for that ledge and I'm like, oh, I don't want you to go there, but at the same time, like you're presenting a case for yourself why you should go there.
And I think in
and
that
I'm
story,
believing it, and I'm like, oh man, fuck, this is awesome. Like, let's just see what happens. Even though I don't have anything planned on the other side of the ledge, and then the dice agree with them.
Yeah.
Just like that, all of a sudden I'm forced into a situation where guess what? I'm intrigued on why you wanted to go over here. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of something.
I don't see that as fudging though.
It is fudging.
it's a type of fudging. I would take it,
but not fudging dice. Like I think
we will establish.
Yeah, like we've equated to fudging over is overarching. It's not just dice.
Fudging the story.
Fudging the situation.
Yeah.
Fudging anything. You know what I mean? It's almost fudging is almost the equivalent of cheating in a way for certain things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I think I take it not so much as cheating. I think fudging as a DM is more of a way of situationally storytelling, you know, in the moment, because this whole game is we're writing a novel literally word for word at the same exact time in that very moment. And fudging as a DM is you're like, oh, I got a new idea. I got to switch this up real quick, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that and if you have to fudge the dice, if you have to fudge the story, if you have to fudge a situation,
if you have
whatever.
to fudge the location, if your players go left and you wanted them to go right, you just move the whole fucking town.
Well, and okay, so if I was going to wrap up this conversation, if I'm going to
hold on, it's a thesis, man.
Thesis.
Ooh.
Whatever. If
Cue
I'm gonna,
the music.
Andy, we should do that.
We expect a fucking t-shirt out of this sale.
Yep.
Fudging dice, just like in life.
Fudging dice is a lot like assholes. Everybody has one.
Everybody has one. Nobody wants to know about it.
That's the t-shirt you would see at Spencer's.
I just stole its thunder.
Yeah. No, but okay, so backing up. It's highly situational. And you as the DM get to make that call. And sometimes you're going to make bad calls. Sometimes you're going to make good calls. Sometimes you're going to fudge in the wrong direction. And that's okay.
I hate when I fudge in the wrong direction.
It just sounds like a horrible statement.
Yeah, that's the t-shirt right there. It's don't fudge in the wrong direction.
You just made 2 t-shirts for Spencer's gift shop.
Front and back.
Yeah. Front to back.
But
Anyway.
I think fudging, to build on what you're saying, I think fudging also equates to one of the most popular fucking phrases in pop culture history, comics and movies. Is like we said before, the Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So use your fudging accordingly.
Yeah. But also, I just want to stress this.
I want the philosophical.
Don't be afraid to make the mistake of fudging in the wrong direction. You are learning just like everybody else.
Okay, all right. You know what though?
Don't fudge into the wind.
I agree with that because as I was telling you about when I ran that campaign,
The candy bar stout, man.
It was, yeah.
when I ran that Dragon of Ice Spire and I had the dragon come down on a
third level
party
yeah.
and a random encounter, it wasn't supposed to be much, just scary presence, and you guys
And we scared the shit out of it.
yeah, no, you scared the shit out of me because if one more hit came, you were going to kill the big bad guy 2 levels before you're even supposed to encounter him.
Yeah, and when
I
you
was
do,
like, oh shit,
when you
no,
do
crap.
30 points of damage-
I fudged the wrong direction.
well, when you do 30 points of damage to the big bad guy that, if I remember correctly, because I've run that campaign
Only
too,
has 38 points of health.
that only
Like
has
79.
137 or something like that in one round from one character, you need to rethink your life in that point. And then, fudge away.
You should have rolled those insight checks, John.
Like I said, I shouldn't have even, that random encounter, I shouldn't have been tracking hit points. I should have been like, you get 2 rounds and it's going to fly away.
Yeah,
Okay,
it comes
when I
with
did
the whole
that-
thing.
Let you guys get some pot shots off, blow your loads, and
When I ran that
It's
one,
out.
I didn't track hit points. I just said when they got to this much damage, that thing
And
was flying
this
away.
might be a topic for side quests though, but I don't know if you guys noticed, but Dungeons and Dragons, for being in the title, dragons aren't very necessarily a presence in the game.
They're not very common.
You know what I mean? So when you
No.
run a dragon, it almost feels like mythic,
yeah.
omnious. You know what I mean?
And they're not even the
shouldn't even
biggest
track hit
bads
points.
of the game.
No, I know that, but you shouldn't even track hit points anytime you encounter a dragon.
Even ancients?
No,
We're like
they're not.
CR.
I know, but
23s
nobody
or
runs
something
dragons. It's dragons are like unicorns in fantasy.
Should be called
You
Dungeons and
can't fucking
Goblins.
see them. You can't touch them.
Roadside encounters with goblins.
So
That's levels 1 through 3.
That's as far as we get.
in the conclusion of this topic, I think that fudging, just like a lot of the things that we've given, is a useful tool for DMs. It's a way to progress your story. It's a way to show your player characters humility. It's a way to build your player characters up, especially in a story-driven campaign or setting. Also, fudging equates to real life, as in learn from your failures. Don't necessarily look down too hardly upon yourself for failing. Seek out why you failed and then build on it.
Yeah.
And then don't be afraid to fail.
Embrace a bit of humility. Embrace a failure. Don't
Are you going to thesis us again?
don't live in
No,
that
but-
failure, but learn from it.
Based off of what you're saying, though, I may throw a grenade into this, and I
He
really
just blew
do
the whole
apologize.
fucking... We got to re-record
We're
now.
literally
We
trying
may-
to
we
end
may-
the conversation.
Yeah, he's
I know
gotta-
you're
he's
trying
gotta,
to,
He's
but-
got to we got to re-record the whole
But
thing.
what you just
Hey, we got
said-
some D&D
okay,
to play.
I know, John, but just hear me for a second. Okay, so you're saying the humility aspect, if you fail, all that stuff, that's great. So from a player character standpoint,
When do I level up?
well, when do I level up? And then ideally, I think the big part of it is that when you're a player character and you know your DM is fudging dice constantly,
You're not supposed to know, though. That's the point of this
that's-
whole thing.
That's fine though, but you're not supposed to know. But
you're
at the same, hold on though.
Hold on, Andy. You're the exception, not the rule. You've quoted this many times. The fact
Yes.
that you have a social contract with your players that say don't fudge any dice, blah blah blah.
I totally
That's
get
why they
that.
invent DM screens, my friend. Nobody knows what I'm doing behind this.
I
And
totally
can
get
roll
that.
Random dice any fucking time I want to, and you have no idea what the fuck's going
And
on.
I totally get the idea of like the
I'm
random
angry now.
dice roll and the smile will get everybody on edge. That's
it's when the DM smiles, it's already too late.
Yes, that's a great T-shirt that already exists, I think. But
You know what?
My
If
point-
you have that problem, you need to set the precedence that you roll shitty like I do.
Presidents.
Precedence that you roll really shitty like I do. So when you're like, oh yeah, it missed, but you're really fudging that one, nobody knows because you just roll like shit anyways.
Okay, here's my point though: is everybody who shows up to the table, they want to play a game that there are real stakes, and when we are being obvious about fudging the dice, and it doesn't make sense why we're doing so.
Roll your sleight of hand check.
Okay. I got a 17, natural 17. Point being,
You're not that
I'm not
sneaky.
that good. I'm not that sneaky.
I took keen mind.
But point
No,
being,
observation.
it can really take a lot of character, a lot of people, and just go, you know what? Screw this. The dice don't matter anyway. And so my point isn't that you don't do it. My point is that we have to be very strategic and we have to be very purposeful for why we're doing it. And I'm going to buy a can of silicone spray and I'm going to take that door and I'm going to make it so it doesn't squeak anymore.
I feel like, you know what, that door is like Mr. Rogers' mailman. It just lets us know that we got mail.
Okay, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
for the audience purposes, that's our game party coming in because we're about to play.
Yes.
Roll out. And I'll agree with you to a point, Andy. Like, fudging is not something as a DM that you do consistently. It's not something that you partake in all the time.
You got to learn
It's
when,
another
when and
tool
when
you
not to
have.
do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's like
a tool.
you know what? It's the equivalent of drinking bardic inspiration.
You should drink that responsibly, by
You
the
should
way.
drink that responsibly, but you should also know when your limit is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
gauge it.
I think that's responsible.
When you're drinking a candy bar stout that's 7.2, maybe you only need one.
Backwoods Brewing
That's
Company.
why I pre-funked.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap this up. It was a very constructive conversation about fudging dice and how
Went
it
a lot
equates.
deeper than I thought it would.
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime that you have a topic like fudging dice and you just look at it on the surface, like, it doesn't really equate to anything that we've talked about so
No,
far.
but to bring in personal characteristics and accepting of failures, I think that was actually that was deep. I liked it.
I like the way that you show humility, John.
You like?
Anyway, just remember, drink your bardic inspiration responsibly.
he obviously didn't.
Yeah.
There was some proper number 12 in there as well.
Yeah. And
Ooh, is
Ben's
that a
at home,
plug?
so he doesn't have to go anywhere.
And
And me and Andy live in the fucking garbage can in the alley. So
so make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Of Dice and Brews. And remember, life's an adventure. Roll with it.